Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. Joined on Thursday night in his normal time slot, EJ, special guests Anthony and Ryan. Ryan, it's really good to have you back on the Draft Professor podcast. How are you doing?
Good. Excited to talk some very underrated teams this year.
So, Anthony, we were podcasting about 30 minutes ago. Crash course in Baylor and TCU, and you're joining the party. So thanks for helping.
Yeah, it's amazing how that can work. Happy to be here. I'm not going to be the big information guy for this. I'm going to be the comic relief probably for this podcast. But happy to be here. Baylor and TCU are two. I think Ryan is absolutely right. Two very underrated teams. Underrated rosters and underrated NFL talent. So this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, and Baylor, to the best of my knowledge, had 0 players drafted last year. And I think they're more than going to make up for it this year. But EJ, with the different players that you watched, what was your general feel of Baylor and the TCU players?
Everybody looks better when you got a quarterback. The thing is, like, if these guys didn't have the level of play at quarterback that they had, we wouldn't be talking about these other prospects. We wouldn't be talking about your Eric McAllisters or your Cameron, Cameron. But it works better, especially with these quarterbacks, because they don't want to be the show. They just want to run the show. So everything works. Everybody else gets to showcase what their talents are, and we see everybody in a more natural role. So it's some very, very much under the radar prospects here with both of these teams.
So we are going to start the podcast with a few TCU players. The first TCU player we're going to talk about is wide receiver Eric McAllister. EJ, what did you have on Eric McAllister?
So Eric McAllister, he listed about 6'3", 208, I believe. He's a solid player. He looks more like I wouldn't say he's a take the top off the defense type of wide receiver, but he uses his size and his play strength to his advantage, where you can give him some underneath throws, and he's got decent play speed, so he can use his play speed. He can use his strength to break some tackles and get some run after the catch. He is a wide receiver that can high point the ball. He can use his 6'3" frame. And the thing is, he's not one of those skinny 6'3". He's like a well-proportioned player. So top and bottom, you can see it's a natural size for him. So he can use that to dominate over smaller cornerbacks. He is a guy that I would like to see. He can be your boundary X wide receiver. He's not going to win consistently against press coverage. He's going to have to win. He's going to have to win some 50-50 balls. That's the way he plays. He's not that quick twitch type of athlete that's going to really separate at the top of routes. He's not going to give you tremendous separation at the top of routes. He's not that type of player, but he's a guy that he can shield the defender on slant routes and get you receptions there. He can, if he's given the benefit of having off coverage, then he has build up speed to where he can run those deeper routes, the post routes, the 9 routes, and then he tracks the ball very well, and he has strong hands at the catch point. I seen him drop like one pass where it just hit him in the hands and he dropped it. It's pretty much just a concentration drop, but I trust his hands. But yeah, he's a solid receiver. I expect him to have, now that the way has been cleared for him as a wide receiver, I expect him to have a jump in production this season, whereas I believe he should have been on the field a lot more than other wide receivers last season, but now he has the chance to be more of a focal point of that offense, and I expect him to put up better numbers.
So Ryan, Eric McAllister, wide receiver from TCU.
Yeah, he actually caught my eye when he was over at Boise State. And just as a guy that I was like, I just wrote his name down because he's one of those guys. He's got much longer strides, so he gets a lot of speed when he gets going. You were just talking about, when they play off of him. because he has a bit of a slow release, in my opinion. But when he gets going, like he can outrun people because he's got those long strides at that size. So I think he didn't do great. He did better as a contested catch guy at Boise State than in his first year at TCU. So I hope that he fixes that and gets a little bit better at that this year. But I think exactly what EJ said, when he's going to be on the field more this year, and I expect him to produce. And I think he's going to be a guy that a lot of people are talking about. I don't know that he's necessarily like that number one guy in the NFL, but if he goes to a team that has a number one guy, he could be that team's like T. Higgins.
Anthony, Eric McAllister.
Yeah, I think both of you guys pretty much hit all the big notes with him. This is a guy who size, speed, athleticism checks every box that you would want for the NFL. It really just comes down to, can he take that next step? He was behind Jack Besh and Savion Williams this past season. Now he is going to be expected to be that legit number one X option for TCU. I am concerned there's a lot of just undeveloped parts of his game. The routes, his hands. I don't love 5 drops on 58 targets. That's not ideal, especially with, that was one of my big problems with Savion last year too, was, the drops were a concern. So this is a pattern, I would say, at TCU that they got to clean up a bit. But can he be, I described him before we came on the air, that I don't love him right now, but I'm prepared to love him if he has the kind of season that his physical profile would sort of indicate that he could have. And EJ with a great point earlier, like the quarterback play is going to be huge. He has a guy in Josh Hoover who can get him the ball. Again, we just saw it last year with Besh and Savion. Like he has a reliable quarterback that's going to be able to get him those targets. What can he do with them? Can he make those big plays consistently and also develop the skills needed to be a legit NFL receiving option? So yeah, everything is there. The clay needs to be molded, and it certainly could happen. Right now, he's probably just like a day 3 flyer kind of guy, but you can absolutely see the path towards getting into that top 100 kind of conversation.
Okay, so Anthony, the next player we're going to talk about is safety Bud Clark, and we are doing a safety big board Saturday morning on your normal podcast time slot. But are we going to hear about Bud Clark on your safety big board?
You most certainly are going to hear about Bud Clark on our safety big board. I'm a big Bud Clark guy. We're going to have a lot of guys tonight that I'm just going to be frank with you all. I have not watched because this was sort of impromptu, and I didn't really know I was going to be a part of this until about 40 minutes ago. But Bud Clark is one of them. I've watched him. I'm a fan. So this is a 6th-year senior, 6'2", $189. He is one of the best safeties in this class, in my mind, when it comes to tracking the ball in the air and then being able to make a play on the ball. He has great ball skills, great instincts in coverage. He has 11 career interceptions with the Horned Frogs. He is great at being able to read the quarterback's eyes, break on routes. He also can play multiple spots in TCU's defense. With a frame like 6'2", 189, he's not going to be that, in the box kind of run support kind of safety. You are primarily, if you're drafting Bud Clark, you're drafting him, in my mind, to be that sort of center fielder, that has the range and the ball skills and the athleticism to just make plays, in the back end of the defense. But he is a very good talent. If one of the things with safeties is it's with any position, but I think safeties in particular, like they need to be in the role that their skills, that fits that defense and fits their skill set. And so if you put Bud Clark in the box and in run defense, he's probably going to be a terrible football player. But if you put him single high, let him be a cover guy, I think can absolutely warrant a top 100 pick at least. He will be on my top 100 big board, which, for those who don't know, I am teasing that's coming out tomorrow. Subtle plug. But yeah, it really it does come down to, the smaller size and frame isn't great. He's going to get overpowered by blockers. I also did see a couple times where I think double moves can kind of get him out of position. And as a sixth-year senior, I personally don't factor in age and that kind of thing as much as other people do. But, you kind of wonder now, like sixth-year senior, how much more upside are you really going to get from him? So that is a factor as well. But I'm a big Bud Clark fan over here for sure.
EJ Bud Clark.
So yeah, I like his ball skills. He tracks the ball, especially like the deep balls they try to throw over his head. He tracks those very well. You can attribute that to his baseball background more than likely. My guess is he probably was like a center fielder or something like that. But you can see how he tracks the ball. He tracks the ball very well. He has a range to play as a single high. They played a lot of coverages at TCU. So he was at a single high. He was in split safety looks. He was in like unbalanced safety looks where he was cheating down as a robber. And he can play those positions well. He's a versatile cover guy. I've seen him pick up the slot receiver in man coverage. It's not his best trait, but he can do it. And he shows the upside. He has the foot quickness and the athletic ability to progress and get better at that. Against the run, he's a bit of an ankle biter, which is fine because, he's 190, 189 pounds. But he's down there in the mix. He triggers down. He's not hesitant to come down into the box and try to make a tackle once he reads run. Once he gets down there, then he's just going to throw his head at your ankles. But against back there where he's at, if there's a wide receiver coming across the middle, he has no problem putting his shoulder into smaller, skinnier wide receivers. So he picks his battles, and I mean that's just self-awareness. He knows what he can and cannot do. But you like the athletic ability, you like the range, you like the length at 6'2". He's a guy that I like him in pretty much split safety looks where he's got a whole half of the field where he can just read the quarterback, and he has that type of speed and explosiveness where he can trigger downhill against plays in front of him. So I think he's a solid player. I can see him being a top 100 guy. I would say, in pretty much teams that favor zone coverage, I think that's where he's best at. If he's just he can play a single high all day long, but I'd rather him in split safety looks, which you cover 4, you cover 6s, where he has that zone to cover where his explosiveness and his trigger downhill is highlighted more so. So, but yeah, he's a very solid player.
Ryan, Bud Clark.
Yeah, I mean, they covered most of the things. I remember the first time really being exposed to him during that 2022 college football playoff run. He got a lot of attention for some big plays. He's always been a playmaker. He's always had those big plays. But I honestly felt like after watching some of the older film and then some of this year, it felt like this last year was the year that he put a lot of it together. He was a much better tackler this year than he has been in the past, more consistent. I felt like he was better in coverage. So I think that he's going to be very solid. The age doesn't bother me too much, but I don't really have much else to add other than everything that they hit.
Okay. Well, Ryan, the next player is somebody that you said you really liked, wide receiver Joseph Manjack from TCU. So what do you want to tell us about him?
So Joseph Manjack, he's coming from Houston, 6'3", 200. He's coming off a pretty bad year, honestly. He played outside, and I'm sure he didn't have the greatest QB play either. But He played on the outside. In 2023, he was playing almost exclusively in the slot, and that's where he had a pretty electric season. So for me, I'm hoping that with him coming to TCU, where they're going to have Eric McAllister hopefully playing outside, he can maybe play that slot role and get back into the groove that he has. Very, very good hands, really good hands, super sure, and pretty solid route runner. Not necessarily a burner or anything like that, but I think he could be effective for the slot, especially with much better QB play that he's coming to with Josh Hoover.
So do either of you have Joseph Manjack on your boards? EJ?
No, not mine. I didn't get a chance to watch him.
Okay.
And I not watched him either. No.
Okay. And then EJ, we are going to go to the TCU quarterback, Josh Hoover.
Yes. Josh Hoover. Okay. Did you know he was a top 30 right-handed pitcher in the state of Texas? So he's got another one with a baseball background. I would say I think TCU got him listed at like 6'2", but I would say he's like 6'1", 6 foot, around 200 pounds or less. He's not really that big of a quarterback, but I watched him versus Utah and I watched him against SMU. Versus Utah, he was dealing. He is a guy. He's one of the quarterbacks I like because he doesn't make it about him. He's not. There's no hero ball in him. He's going to keep the offense on schedule. He's going to keep it moving, which is good because he's not that type of quarterback to do something different. He gets the ball out quick. He's on schedule. He's in rhythm. Once his back foot hits the top of the drop, the ball is out. He utilizes his check downs, which quarterbacks in college don't always do anymore. But he utilizes his check downs. He can hit the intermediate to short range with fairly good accuracy. But the thing about his accuracy, that kind of it wanes depending on what situation he's in. He can hit the touch throws. He can hit the touch throws down the field where he's got to drop it in the bucket. I've seen him do that. He can hit the seam routes. He can layer the football in between defenders. Arm strength, I would say, is average by NFL standard. Excuse me. And I would say physical ability, as far as he has pocket mobility. He can drift in the pocket. He can step up in the pocket. He can evade pressure. He has a good sense for pressure. As far as being a scrambler, if it's 3rd and 5, he can get you 5. But he's not somebody I would feature in a run game like QB power, outside zone, all that. I would not do that with him. His scrambling ability is strictly icing on the cake. That's how I would use him. What his overall athletic ability, I would say, is average to below average by NFL standards, which is fine because he makes up for that with his head, with his mechanics. Thing about his mechanics is if he's not throwing with his feet under him, then that ball, you don't know where that ball is going. He's a guy, he looks really good when he's throwing the ball with both feet under him, when he's in rhythm and when he's in structure. When you move him off his spot a little bit, that's why I watched him against SMU. They heated him up a little bit. They got him off his spot. They made him hitch a couple of times, and that led to some bad habits. They moved him off he took 2 steps off his spot, and he missed a wide open receiver by a mile. And that was a consistent thing in that game with him. If you move him off of his spot, his mechanics fail him. He's not a guy that's going to have a really good ball when he's throwing with all upper body. He needs his feet under him. He needs his mechanics in order to have that accurate football. I think he is. I think projecting it forward, if he has another year like he does last season, I think some team will draft him and be a cheap backup, and he'll have to work his way into a starting lineup. The way he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL, he's going to have to be lights out with his anticipation, with his above the shoulder game. Like everything, he's going to have to be know the offense in and out. He's going to have to know what the other defense is doing to him in and out. That's his path to being a starting quarterback in the NFL, because he's not going to out athlete anybody. But what he does is he keeps the offense in rhythm. He keeps the offense on time. He keeps the offense ahead of the sticks. Once they get behind the sticks, he can make some drive throws. Like the drive throws he can make. Once he got his feet under him, he can make the drive throws. Some of those deeper passes where he's got to get all the way down the field, some of those balls die on him a little bit. But he's a guy that he's not going to be the engine of your offense. He's not going to be like your Lamar Jackson where the offense goes as he goes, but he can be the one that's driving the car. You can put a complete offense around him and he can make it work. So I think he has upside, I would say, as a backup quarterback. But as far as a college quarterback, he's a pretty good guy, and he's got weapons around him, so he's going to be successful.
Ryan, Josh Hoover.
Yeah, echo everything. I do personally think he has higher upside, depending on if he takes the steps I think he can make, and it does come down to handling the pressure, and being able to work on, when pressured, being able to have those same mechanics that he has when he actually is has a nice pocket. He gets the ball out really quick, and he was pressured on like 25% of his dropbacks last year, with no run game and not the best O-line last year. It didn't help him out a lot. I love the zip over the intermediate routes. He gets the ball to guys. His deep ball actually reminds me of Joe Burrow. He's got enough, but his accuracy on the deep ball is good enough that he can get it out there. My question is that going to continue if they have a step back in the wide receiver room, because they lost two big targets, and those guys were open a lot. So that's going to be a question. You talked about his athleticism a little bit, EJ. Yeah, I put dude has no interest in running. He's got good mobility in the pocket, but I think he had a grand total of 86 rushing yards last year, with like a third of them on like one run. So yeah, he's not gonna take off and run unless he has to. But I do like that he goes through progressions, and I had the same thing I had written down. He seems to be pretty solid from the head up. Needs to work on the mechanics when he's pressured. But I think that if he takes a step in the mechanics, and we'll see how he worked this offseason. If he did the work this offseason to build those mechanics and improve, I think he's going to take a big step, and he could be much better. I don't necessarily think he's going to go light the world on fire in the NFL or anything, but I do think he could be a solid starter, like that middle of the pack type starter that can get you there, as long as you have a good team around him.
Anthony, Josh Hoover.
Yeah, so full disclosure, I don't have like a full evaluation done on Hoover yet. I've seen him in flashes when, watching Jack Besh and watching Savion Williams. You see him play. He's obviously pretty integral for them. It's interesting talking about Josh Hoover. When I've seen him, I've seen this conversation of like who could be this year's like Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels, as in a guy that like has sort of day 3 grades like right now, and then could, have a big year and elevate themselves to, first round. I mean, obviously both those guys went top 2, but even someone that could take like that huge step forward and enter a first round conversation. And I've seen Josh Hoover's name as a candidate for that. And based on what I've watched, which again isn't a whole full evaluation, but I have concerns about his NFL, projection. First off, he's 6'2", 200 is what he's listed. It's very possible that TCU inflated that weight by a couple pounds. So you don't love, and I don't know, not accusing anybody, but you don't love the frame, even if that is an accurate number. I was just going through his PFF numbers, which is not by all means like an end all be all for any evaluation, but it's something that I look at as a sort of guide. 18 turnover-worthy plays to just 17 big-time throws is not an ideal metric to have. I think, Ryan, you mentioned it. Like, he gets the ball out quick. The time to throw is 2.45. PFF has listed, which is one of the best numbers I've probably seen of all the quarterbacks that I've looked at. And I can like imagine in my head, like, he does get the ball out quick. I remember like his release is a good quick release. And he is, when he's clean and protected, he can get the ball out, I remember like throws to Jack Besh where the ball placement was very good and Jack Besh was able to make those tough catches that only he was able to make in those situations. Right now, and again, when we have our quarterback episode next week, where Josh Hoover will be part of it. So another shameless plug for me, but Josh Hoover will be a part of it, and I will have more full details on him. But just going off of my preliminary thoughts, what I remember, I think this is like a day 3, sort of what EJ said, like, you're going to bring him in. He's going to be a backup and can be a good backup. And that's important in the league. I don't see, like quarterback that can enter like first or second day talks yet at this point. I think he has a lot of things to improve, and I think he's just going to have natural limitations to his ceiling anyway. So we'll see what happens. And I do think, to Ryan's point too, losing Besh and Savion is not going to help as much as we just went on about McAllister, and there's upside there. There's other good receivers, Dwyer. The other name, I'm going to cheat and look at the depth chart. I just had it. Manjack that we talked about. Like, there are some good receivers, but I don't think any of those guys are on the level of Besh or Savion, or really particularly even close. So we'll see what happens. But I don't have the highest hopes for Hoover, but good football player. I think he can be a really good college quarterback.
I do think losing Savion will probably help his completion percentage, though.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point.
That was pretty good. So we're about to flip to Baylor, and I want to give a shout out to Coach Keenan Hall, who just followed the page, and he is Baylor's running backs coach. So, Coach, if you're watching, we hope that we're about to do some of your guys justice.
This sets up so well.
Yeah. So, Ryan Sparks, when you found out that we were covering Sawyer Robertson, you and I chatted and you wanted to come on the podcast. Mm-hmm. I know you like Sawyer Robertson. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so for Sawyer Robertson, he is the guy that I think could shoot up the most this year. I think he's got an insanely high ceiling. I don't think that his mechanics are necessarily as strong as Hoover's are at this point, particularly on his short throws. 5 yards and less and behind the line of scrimmage, he struggles sometimes there. But same thing, he struggles a little bit with pressure, but he gets the ball out quick again. Anthony talked about Hoover's 2.45 time to throw. It's only 2.57 for Sawyer Robertson. I felt like his supporting cast was not necessarily the greatest last year, and that they did a really good job this year bringing in some guys that I hope will be able to support him and let him reach that level. One of the notes that I had to actually put down was reminded me of 2018 Burrow, where a guy was figuring stuff out as the season went in his like real first shot at being a starter. And if he takes that type of leap this year, I think he could do a really good job of shooting up the board. He's got more than enough mobility. I like his ball placement. His accuracy on the move outside of those short throws is actually pretty strong in my opinion. But yeah, I think with his size, 6'4", 220 is what they have him listed at. he has a really good chance to shoot up boards, and I'm really excited to see what he does with the talent that they've brought in to put around him.
EJ, Sawyer Robertson.
So Sawyer, like 6'4", 220. I watched him against Colorado. I watched him against Iowa State, and I watched him against TCU. So against Colorado, his center tried to lose him the game, center single-handedly. Every snap was like Sawyer was like a wide receiver out there. He had to catch the ball here, and that is so disruptive to your timing as a quarterback because you got to stop and catch the ball first because the center don't know how to snap the ball. He had to be pissed about that, but he weathered that storm and he still managed that game. I think that was impressive, being able to manage with like not ideal situation around you. He's a guy that he can move the offense. Like at the baseline of being a quarterback, he can run the offense. He can run the manufactured plays. He can run the quick game. He does that just fine. I think he has a strong arm. I would say by NFL standards, he has a solid arm. He's a bit of a wind up, but it's strong enough to where he's not late with the ball. He can get a lot of velocity on it. As far as his athleticism, his ability to run, he's more of a straight line, north and south type of runner. He can get you big chunks of yardage. If the defense is undisciplined in their gap responsibilities and they leave a gap for him to shoot out of, he's going to get you a big chunk of yards. I say he's probably like a 4-6 guy, but that's just fine because when the quarterback scrambles, nobody's really paying attention to him. So he can get you big chunks of yards as a north-south type of runner. As far as accuracy goes, like if he's on time and he's in rhythm, his accuracy is fine. His accuracy and ball placement is fine. I would like to see his accuracy get a little bit better on his deep ball specifically. He left some meat on the bone as far as the deep passes where he just threw the ball over the receiver's head. That may be just like not being familiar with the receiver or just not being comfortable with the timing of the play, but there was some meat left on the bone as far as the deep passes go. Against Iowa State, another team, they brought pressure for him, and he didn't. Some of the pressure he did not handle well. Once he gets, when they bring him pressure and they give him something that he didn't expect to see, he gives you that, oh shit, what do I do now? And that manifests itself into a little bit of hero ball. It was a 4th and 2 against Iowa State, and they had a diamond formation. Well, empty set diamond formation. That's four receivers in the shape of a diamond on one side. You got your boundary receiver on the other side. So Iowa State had all their defenders on that side of the ball. Everybody does switch releases. It's bound to be a receiver that comes open. But the problem with that is Iowa pressured. The pressure got to Sawyer, and he missed a wide open wide receiver for a touchdown on a 4th and 2. He could have scrambled and got the 2 yards, or he could have threw the touchdown. But he ran around in a circle and wound up throwing the ball out of bounds. Just because the pressure got to him, he couldn't see what he needed to see. But that could have, had he been more experienced with handling that pressure, he could have easily beaten that pressure. But overall, I would say that's the only knock on his game, and I think that comes with being able to handle that. That comes with experience. That comes with more reps. As far as other than that, then I think he does have starter upside in the NFL. He's a guy that he's another guy. He can simply run your offense. If he's a guy that's playing in structure and he doesn't play the hero ball. But he doesn't do that regularly. But as far as once he gets something that he's not prepared for, he needs to just think quickly and just pretty much get the ball out of his hands. Because in the NFL, he's not going to be the athlete that he is in college. Like in college, he can run away from guys. He can run around. He's not going to be able to do that in the NFL. He's a good athlete, but he's not that good of an athlete. But I think if he gets mentally sharper, gets the ball out, utilizes his checkdowns, he'll be excellent quarterback in the NFL. But he has to just he's a guy that I believe can live in structure. Once he gets up to speed on the nuances of the position, he can live in structure and use his legs as a bonus to hurt the defense whenever he feels like it. But yeah, this is a guy definitely he has a starter upside.
So Anthony, I've heard you talk about Sawyer Robertson before. You had me laughing the first time that you gave your scouting report on Sawyer Robertson. Can we get a sequel?
I don't remember what I said to make you laugh, but I'll try. No, I actually, funny enough, I was looking. So I watched 3 completely different games than what EJ did, and yet I have like eerily similar notes. So yeah, definitely has NFL arm strength. His cousin is Jarrett Stidham, which I think is worth noting because they both have, I would say pretty good arms. His father is a former first-round pick for Major League Baseball. I believe it was the Expos when the Expos were a thing. So you kind of get that, and EJ talked about that sort of wind-up release. My first note in my negative section is the release is just too wind-up for me. And I think EJ is right. Like, it's not like a huge detriment to him. Like, he can still make throws and run an offense and be timely and be in rhythm. But you do want to probably just like clean that up a little bit because it's not going to be so easy to do that in the NFL with a release like that. But when he is in rhythm, he is just so dynamic as a passer. He can make all those throws. Again, has the arm strength, but also just has the gumption to make legit NFL throws or at least attempt legit NFL throws. There is one play against LSU. He gets absolutely murdered by the defensive lineman, and he just rips it over the middle of the field, and it is a dime. So he makes throws like that all throughout his film. He also makes throws where he just misses guys. He doesn't set his feet. He gets a little too wishy-washy with his mechanics, and he misses throws that he just shouldn't miss. He's a 1-year starter, but he's also a redshirt senior. So you kind of want him to be, I would think, a little more polished and a little more cleaned up, with some of his mechanics issues. I saw a comment, not that comment from Scotty. I saw another comment Scotty put earlier, and thank you for commenting, Scotty. But there was another comment where he said, like, people had, I forget, Avery Johnson and somebody else ranked above Sawyer.
Yeah, I'll find it.
I forget. It was another Big 12 quarterback. I don't remember who it was. Oh, yeah, Dampier. Yeah, that is crazy. I agree. Sawyer is better than both of those guys right now. And where I talked about, like, 5 minutes ago about Josh Hoover, the conversation of who's like a day 3 guy that could leap into the first round. I don't know where you guys have Sawyer Robertson right now. For me, he probably is like an early day 3 quarterback. You would bet on traits, but things need to be cleaned up with him. But he absolutely could elevate, with the talent around him that we will get into shortly, and the development and the tools and the flashes that you've already seen from him could absolutely make a case. Maybe not top 2 like Burrow and Daniels I was talking about, but like enter the first round conversation. He checks so many boxes right now, and he does really feel like a sky is the limit kind of quarterback. He does just need to clean up those things. I also think his processing is a little too, quick read, get the ball out. He doesn't go through progressions a ton, but he shows flashes of doing it. So it's there. I just want to see more of it. And he's not a great athlete, but it's enough. But yeah, Sawyer Robertson, he's, again, like an early day 3 guy right now in this moment, but would I be stunned if he winds up as a first round, sort of like the Jackson Dart, where like he kind of like rises up draft boards, even if it is in like the off season next year, and then kind of gets into the first round conversation after having a good season. Yeah, I could absolutely see that path for him.
I want him to go to the Rams. I want him to go to the Rams and sit a year behind Stafford and then take over.
That'll work. Put anybody under Sean McVay, he's going to get them right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you want to hear more on Sawyer Robertson, we have covered him on our QB show on Fridays. It would be Anthony, Bill, and were the ones that covered him. Josh Hoover will be covered a week from Friday on the same QB show. So if you want to hear more opinions, go back and either look at past podcasts or check the future ones out.
You don't need to hear my opinion twice, but you can go back and listen to other people's opinions. That will be useful.
So I'm paraphrasing here, but Anthony, when he covered Sawyer Robertson the first time, said something like, if you told him that Sawyer Robertson went undrafted, he would believe you.
Oh,
if
yes.
you told him that Sawyer Robertson went in round 1, he would also believe you.
Yep.
So that was the range that Anthony gave for the floor and ceiling.
Past Anthony is absolutely right. That I agree with.
Okay. Now we are flipping to Baylor. I'm just going to say other players on Baylor that are draft eligible, and there's several. We're going to start with running back Bryson Washington. EJ, what did you think when you watched Washington?
So I got a quick look at Bryson Washington. He's got good vision. He sets up his blocks well. He knows how to cut off of leverage of his blockers. He can get what's blocked for him. Most of his explosive plays are because of his vision. He is blocked up for him, and he knows how to take advantage of where the holes are. I don't think he's a spectacular athlete. I don't think he's going to be a running back that gets a whole lot on his own, other than he's just putting his head down and being determined and breaking tackles. He's not a guy. I don't think he's going to create or make people miss on his own. I don't think he's more very dynamic player in space. But that's not necessarily a death nail for a running back. You can be a running back that gets what's blocked for you. You can be a guy that's solid in all areas of the running back position and still be a successful running back in the league. So I think he's a guy. He is an option in the passing game as well. And I didn't see any reps where he was pass blocking. So, but still, that's something that's very teachable at the next level. But I think he's probably, if he gets drafted, I think he'd be a day 3 guy. But he has the vision. He has the determination, the leg drive. Size wise, it's adequate for the running back position. It's just that he's just not that wow athlete. But he's technically sound, and he's going to get you. He can get you what's blocked for him. So if you put him behind a good offensive line, he's going to get you 4 to 5 yards to carry.
Anthony, what do you have on the Baylor running back?
Yeah, so pretty similar here. I like Bryson Washington a lot. I think I wouldn't say he's an elite athlete, but I would say he actually is fairly shifty for a guy who. He's listed at 207. I don't have a reason to doubt that. He looks pretty like 6 foot 207. But I think he moves pretty well. He's not like super laterally, impressive with his agility. He's not going to be like a top speed sort of burner kind of guy by any means. But I think he can move pretty well. I think he does a good job of getting small and sort of fitting into those tight holes and those running lanes that are opened up for him. He shows good vision. I think he does a good job of fighting through contact and breaking tackles, and then also being able to, fall forward and get extra yards on run plays. I noted he has multiple goal line touchdowns for Baylor, and he also has over 20 runs of 10 yards or more. So, different situations, and he can still be an asset and have value for an offense, which for me personally, like, versatility is a valuable trait at the running back position. Being able to do a lot of different things well, even if you're not elite at any of them, is a valuable thing for me. This is also a guy who's a redshirt sophomore. He's one of two redshirt sophomores that I'm a big fan of. Hollywood Smothers at NC State being the other one, but so he has plenty of time to develop, to improve his his running ability. I don't know the numbers of redshirt sophomores that have declared as running backs for the draft. I imagine it's not a ton. So would I be shocked if he didn't declare and opted to stay at Baylor for another year at least? No. And that could certainly be worth his while. But I absolutely think there's stuff to build on. EJ also mentioned, like, he is an asset as a receiver. He has an awesome, I think it's West Virginia. He has an awesome, like, over a seam touchdown grab that he makes. He leaps in the air. It is a wild touchdown grab. And again, for a running back, it's super impressive to see. So he shows that he can be a receiving threat. Again, I think he does a good job of filling different situations and being effective as a running back. I like him a lot. I think he is a top, spoiler again, he'll be in my top 100. Like, I think he is I would say like a late day 2 kind of pick right now at this point. But as a redshirt sophomore, there's absolutely room to grow and get better.
Ryan.
Yeah, a lot of the same exact notes. I did put right at the top, not sure he declares this year. But I think the combination, EJ was talking about, he's not necessarily the shiftiest guy in the world, but my view of it was that the combination of his vision with his ability to, like, put the foot in the ground and make that one direction change worked really well, which is why he was able to hit holes that his offensive line did open up for him and be gone. So I would like to see his contact balance improved a little bit, because I felt like he's good at breaking tackles when he's choosing to make the contact. But those little guys grabbing at his feet and stuff like that, I felt like they did a pretty good job of getting him down. So I think that's something I'd like to see him improve. But yeah, he's one of those guys that he does a lot of things very well, and he's a good all-around back. So I'm excited to see if he takes a step this year. And with the running back class we had last year, I could see him maybe coming out, but it really depends on who else is leaving out of his off his team maybe.
Okay, so now we're going to pivot to the Baylor offensive line, and they have 2 guards that we're paying attention to. One we're paying a little bit more attention to than the other. The 2 guards are Omar Aigbedion and Ryan Lengyel. Ryan, what do you like? Which of the 2 guards do you like more, and what do you want to share with us on one or both of the offensive line?
Yeah, so I personally like Omar Aigbedion better. He is 6'3", 310. He was their right guard. He is a transfer actually from Montana State. So he did 2 years at Montana State and then came to Baylor. So whenever I see a guy coming from a school like that going to a bigger school, I'm expecting like a pretty big drop off a lot of the time. And he had a little bit of a drop, but not much. He still did pretty well against the better composition. I think that he's more well-rounded than the other guard that we're going to talk about, who I think is a good pass blocker, but not necessarily the best run blocker. The one thing that I did see with him is I felt like he got turned around a lot. Like I would see him going to make a block, and then his hands would get underneath him, and the defender would have his back to him. So I think that was a bit of a struggle. But if he makes that leap back up to how he looked at Montana State this year, I think he could be really good. I didn't get to spend a ton of time on him, but I think he is looking to me to be like a pretty solid starter.
Okay, EJ, anything on either of the offensive linemen?
So I didn't watch Lengyel, but I did watch Omar Aigbedion. He is a people mover. He's a guy that's ideally built for gap scheme runs, pin pull, power. He's not the dancing bear as people would put it, but he does have enough like foot quickness if you wanted to pull him. But as far as if you put him in front of a defensive tackle and you say move that guy out the way, he's going to move that guy out the way. That's one thing I like. He has leg drive, he has upper body strength and power. He gets vertical displacement when if I was a team like the Texans run a lot of duo in their running game where double teams the running back. He would kill that scheme. Because that's one thing. Go forward and push people out the way. He can do that. That's his NFL trait right there. I like the play strength, and that's what I look for in offensive lineman first and foremost. I look for play strength. Can you move another man against their will? He can do that. All the rest of the stuff you can work with. He does have adequate enough foot quickness. I wouldn't say he's like really quick, but he has adequate enough foot quickness to where fast defensive tackles probably will give him a little bit of trouble, but I believe he has a decent enough wingspan where he can try to mitigate that a little bit. But the baseline of a power player, I think I like that about his game right there. If he can, clean up his game, polish everything up, I think you have a right guard in the NFL.
Anthony, anything on either of the offensive linemen?
So I haven't formally watched or evaluated them. I've seen them, watching other Baylor players like Bryson Washington. I remember, funny enough, I posted a clip about Bryson Washington, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it was Lengyel who had actually like a really nice pull block on a play where Bryson Washington got like a first down. So I've seen flashes, and I've seen Aigbedion, apologies, however you say it. But he does flash like really good power. You'll see him opening running lanes for Bryson Washington and their other running backs. I do also, you kind of just glancing as you guys have been talking about them, I'm kind of just glancing through their PFF grades. For Aigbedion, pretty solid across the board. 75.7 as a run blocker, 77.7 as a pass blocker. Those are both pretty high grades. And back when he was at Montana State, it was even higher. As Ryan alluded to, like once that competition elevates, going from FCS to the Big 12, you would expect that number to dip a bit, but he still had a solid showing. Now has another year in that offense with relatively the same supporting cast around him. So this is a guy who, on paper and from what I'm hearing, like definitely has the makings of a potential starting NFL guard for sure. And somebody I'll get my eyes on for sure.
Okay. And then Anthony, the next player is the Baylor tight end, Michael Trigg. And I know from our last podcast where we were talking about Dane Brugler's tight end list, Michael Trigg needs people to talk about him more. So go ahead and kick that off here.
Yeah, Michael Trigg is another one of these just guys that like I think I like more than most people. So Michael Trigg spent 3 years at Ole Miss before transferring prior to last season to Baylor. So he spent this past year at Baylor, and he is, as I was talking about Bill Sparks on the previous podcast, he is certainly raw, and he is certainly, needs to develop in several different areas, but the athleticism I think he's an NFL athlete. I think he flashes really good moments in terms of being able to he has a great catch radius. He makes good catches. His hands are reliable, I would say. I think he flashes good zone coverage feel as well. And I think he can make a lot of plays after the catch. He has one of the higher missed tackles forced numbers. I think he's top 5. He's up there for sure for tight ends. He checks every box, I think, from a physical and athletic standpoint. 6'4", 245, I would say fairly good size, maybe a little lighter than you'd love, but in this day and age, it feels like tight ends are getting smaller and smaller by the year. So, you live with that. There are just times where his blocking needs work. His route running needs work. And it just feels like in general, he kind of just needs to step up and be more a part of the offense on a consistent basis. But I think he can do that. And, we talked about Sawyer Robertson, where, if he takes that next step, I'm inclined to believe that he could take Michael Trigg with him, and Michael Trigg can be if not at the very least, a reliable receiving option, potentially even like a number 1 receiving option for Baylor this coming year. And if that happens and he plays well, we were talking about it in the previous podcast. The tight end class is very open. There is no one guy that's like really, separated themselves the way that Brock Bowers did a couple years ago and Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren did this past year. Like that doesn't exist at this moment. And I'm not even sure that Michael Trigg can get to that level, but could I see a world where he does have a big year and can enter, the top 50 conversation? I think he could get there. I think it's there. People are also going to say, 6th-year senior, or 5th-year senior. I think he's a 5th-year senior. Age, isn't great, especially for how underdeveloped he is. But that's just, for me, that's just not something I'm too worried about. Like if he has a big year this year, I'm not going to, hold it against him that it took him a little longer. Like if you can play, you can play. So, Michael Trigg, I think he checks a lot of boxes. I'm excited to see what happens with him this year now, and hopefully he can be a key part of the Baylor offense.
So, EJ, where are you on Michael Trigg right now?
Yeah, I liked him back when he was at Ole Miss. I think he's got all the athletic traits that's required in the NFL. I think what Baylor had him doing, sometimes some reps they had him as an inline tight end blocking. I applaud the effort that he gave. That's half the battle right there. He gave a good effort, but like I said, like sometimes with tight ends or running backs, give me the effort of blocking, and I don't care if you lose the block, just lose slow. So your quarterback got time to throw the ball, and he gave effort. That's all I can ask for. I wouldn't necessarily lock him in as an inline type of tight end. I would rather have him as an F tight end, as a wing tight end. You want him to be blocking on an angle. You want him to be blocking on the move. You want him to be a lead blocker. And most importantly, you want him not blocking, but catching the ball. So, he's a guy, he can use his athletic ability. You want him with the ball in his hand. Somebody that big and can run like he can. That's a weapon right there. You want him on stick routes, stick nod. You want him on that split zone pass. You want him on slants. You want him on the seam routes. He's a guy that can contribute in the passing game. That's his strength. He snatches the ball out of the air. I think at the combine he'll probably have one of the bigger hands at the combine. It looks like he has big hands. He snatches the ball out of the air. He can make the contested catch. I'm pretty sure he'll probably have a pretty good vertical for his size as well. He's a good athlete. He needs polish. He needs polishing as far as, as the blocking goes, as far as the route running goes. He's not the most crisp route runner, but really what tight end is. What you want from him is you want that consistent base level. I think he could be a tight end too at the next level. if you got like a complete tight end as your starter, he can come in and be your weapon in 12 personnel. He's a guy that can get down the field. I like him as pretty much the tight end 2 that can grow into a tight end 1. But you just gotta recognize what he is and what he isn't. If you want an inline complete package type of tight end, he's not that type of guy. But if you want an F tight end that's going to go out and catch passes for you and make the defense roll coverage towards him, he's your guy right there. So I think he has pretty good upside. He can be a weapon for an offense in the NFL.
Ryan, Michael Trigg, tight end from Baylor.
Yeah, love him as a weapon. Great hands, good athleticism. He the inline blocking I wrote, he tried. That's what I wrote. He gave it his go. But I do feel like he's a pretty solid blocker when he's out in front of guys, out in the boundaries and stuff like that. He laid down some pretty good blocks out in space. But yeah, from a tight end perspective as a pass catcher, you love to see what he does when he gets the ball in his hands. So I think that I don't really have much else to add other than that, but I think he's going to be one of their big weapons. They do have more weapons coming in this year, but I think he's going to, I think he had like 49 targets or something like that last year. I see him getting at least that again this year, if not more.
So, Ryan, I love it when people come on the show. Like, I know that you've been in the chat for numerous shows, but you came on the show, you did your evaluation. EJ did his evaluation, and you had very similar notes about, like, lose slowly, or he gave effort.
Yeah.
I love seeing that part of it match. So I'm entertained, to say the least. So, Ryan, the last player we're going to talk in depth about from Baylor is wide receiver Joshua Cameron. So what do you have on him?
Well, I know Anthony and I are both personally offended by his roster, his jersey number. 34 is atrocious for a wide receiver.
Josh, man, like if you ever watch this, Josh, like I gotta know why. Like, just give me a reason.
There has to be a reason.
If you're honoring someone, like that's very nice, but like just on paper, nah, man.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about that with a coworker. I will forgive it if there's meaning behind it, but otherwise, drop some
like a running back.
Yeah.
Yeah. The note that I circled it or highlighted was that he seems to always find the holes in the defense. Anytime that Sawyer Robertson needed to get out, it seemed like Josh Cameron was the guy that was open. So I like that a lot. He's got good yak. He's definitely a positive in the return game, which I personally think another guy I'll mention later if we get a chance is going to take that return job from him. But love his hands. He's got pretty good size. They have him listed as 6'1", 218. So he's a thicker 6'1". But he overall is a solid wide receiver. He's not necessarily the flashiest guy in the world. I think he could do a better job at getting separation and structure. When he was, like I said, when the play broke down or the quarterback started to scramble, he would always be open. But I didn't necessarily see him getting like the biggest separation on a regular basis when it's just one-on-one. But I'm excited to see if he takes another step this year with getting more time with Sawyer Robertson.
Anthony, Joshua Cameron.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny to me that EJ just said the thing about it looks like a running back, because I actually think that's like a big part of his scouting report is he is really good at, I wrote, he has a great ability to go from receiver to runner. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's able to make plays. This is a guy who's he is a punt returner, and you see that in his play style. He understands making guys miss, being able to find running lanes after the catch to get good yak. He does that very well. I also think he does well to win on short and intermediate routes. He's going to be a quick route, run like a zig route, slant route, that sort of thing. curl route, and he can get open and be a sort of like reliable safety blanket, I think, for for Sawyer, Robertson, and whoever he would be throwing to in the NFL. I think really it just comes down to, I don't think he's that much of a deep threat. I don't think he really high points the ball particularly well. This is a guy who's 6'1", 218. He did. I remember that play against Kansas. He absolutely did. But in general, I just don't think he wins. He doesn't really win with physical traits and athleticism. I think he wins more with just like, good route running and, being reliable after the catch. And there is absolutely a place for that in the NFL. It has value, certainly. And even if that is just special teams, and I don't want to say just special teams, but like, that has a place and that has a role. It's just not, you're not going to go out and expect him to be a wide receiver. I wouldn't even expect him to really be like a wide receiver too. He probably is just like third, fourth option at best, at the next level. But that is, in this day and age in the NFL, especially with so many young quarterbacks, teams trying to make young quarterbacks happen. You need a guy who can win quick, get open, and then be able to go get those extra yardage that your young quarterback is not able to get with his arm. There's a role for that. So that's the kind of play that I would expect Josh Cameron to bring, and hope maybe he can, elevate, get a little more physical as a player, be able to open up the field a little bit more as a route runner. We'll see. I just don't see a ton of upside for him right now, but absolutely can carve out an NFL role.
EJ, Joshua Cameron, wide receiver from Baylor.
When I watched him, he reminded me of a wide receiver way back when from Oklahoma State named James Washington. He had the same type of build, they look like a running back playing wide receiver, same type of play style, actually. But one thing I did like about Josh Cameron is I love the way he catches the ball. He's one of those receivers that snatches the ball out of the air. You can see him reaching out and catching the ball at his earliest point. That's on slant routes. That's on whatever route. He can catch the ball outside of his frame. He catches the ball with his hand. So I like the way he catches the ball. And the way he catches it, it makes it hard for defenders to get it because he's outstretched. His hands are outstretched, so you have to go through him to get to the ball. So that makes him good on contested catches. I think he's not a guy that's going to take the top off of defense. He's not a burner or anything like that. His best traits are converting from wide receiver to running back after the catch. He can get you yards after the catch. He can break tackles after the catch. He's that type of receiver. Where he wins at in his routes is short area quickness. Specifically, he decelerates very well. If he's going to sell vertical and the DB is in his back pedal, he can stop on a dime and he can do the comeback routes. He can do the curl routes. He has that wide body where he can shield the defender on your slant routes. Where I would put him as a big slot and run him the quick game and let him run after the catch. I would put him as like a boundary X type of receiver. And I would run slants out of that. I would run your comebacks, your outs. And other than that, I would put him in bunch sets where he has a free release off the line of scrimmage and let him build up his speed because he does have a little bit of build-up speed. So if you want to run him deeper, you've got to get him a free release and get him running through zone type of coverages. So like he's a guy that he has some skill sets. He may be like a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, but he's a guy that's sure-handed. He's going to give you some run after the catch. He's a solid player to have. And like they said, he's a special teams contributor too. If you need a punt returner, he's a good guy to have on your special teams as well.
So that, again, I love hearing that I heard very similar things from all three of you. So, and if you're new to Draft Professor, to the best of my knowledge, the four of us have never been in a room together. Anthony and EJ have been podcasting at Draft Professor for about the same amount of time, and this was their first podcast together.
Wow.
So that's moderately funny. And then Ryan, you were actually on a podcast before I found Anthony and EJ last draft cycle.
Hmm.
So that's, again, this is just moderately humorous.
Mm-hmm.
So let's pause for a quick commercial. Ryan, thank you for coming back. You want to let everybody know who you are, about your channel that's launching and everything.
My name is Ryan Sparks. I teach mass communications for the military as my day job, but I do the draft stuff on the side. Coworker and I are launching a channel here soon, so keep an eye out for that. You can find me Ryan Dio Sparks on X mostly. Don't want to give the name away in case anybody tries to steal it before the channel launches, but we're working on building some content right now. Going to be focusing on a lot of analytics, shadow teams, and then also storytelling, because that's what we teach. So, I love coming on here. Love talking with all the guys. Anthony.
Yep. So if you missed it about a couple hours ago when I told everyone, you can always find me at Anthony_Russo97. Big couple days coming up here. My top 100 board comes out tomorrow. It will be unveiled at 6 p.m. On the Draft Professor podcast. So definitely check that out. And then I will be doing Draft Sleepers at 8 p.m. With I'm forgetting that was Durst and Bill, right? And then
Durst and Hank.
Durst and Hank. Sorry, Bill's not in tomorrow.
It's either his wife's birthday or anniversary, so he said, "Jim, I can't podcast."
We understand. Yes, marital importance. Always get that. Yes. So tomorrow after 6 p.m. my top 100, 8 p.m. Draft Sleepers with Durst and Hank, and then Saturday safety big board with the great Jacob Roche. So tune into all those. Find me on X. I'm incessantly tweeting about the draft and prospects and all that good stuff. Now the Jets giving me heart attacks, and it's not even August. So that's great too. But definitely check me out and check out all the draft professors. We're all putting out great stuff right now.
EJ.
So I'm EJ. You can find me on X. Pretty much what I do is film breakdowns, scheme breakdowns, player eval, all things NFL draft. And during the season, we'll get some Eagles tweets as well. One thing you'll never get out of me is you'll never get clickbait. You never get hot takes, and I'll never use the word generational. But you also can, what you will get is you'll get film-based evaluation, pretty much all film-based opinions. I watch the film. I say what I think. And this is my cat right here. She hijacks the show.
We get cat content too.
Yeah, we get cat content as well. But basically, film-based evaluations. If you don't like what I say, don't argue with me, argue with the film. Also, you can catch me here every Thursday, 9 o'clock on the Draft Professor podcast. Mrs. Are Relevant. I'll be here talking NFL draft as well. So every Thursday, tune in.
Yep. So EJ, my girlfriend watches most of the podcast. She loves when your cat makes an appearance.
Yeah. She just comes and goes whenever she pleases. Every time, I swear to God, she ignores me all day long. But when I get in my computer in my office is set up, here she comes. She wants to be on TV.
You pay the bills, but it's really the cat's house.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. It's her world. I'm just living in it.
Right.
Yeah. So you can follow the channel at NFL Draft Fanatic, no I in Fanatic. It is the same on X and YouTube. And the podcasts also go to Spotify after we're done broadcasting them live. So it's been a really good chat. I definitely want to give a shout out. Scotty B, the Baylor King. Thank you for checking out the podcast. We've been doing these team breakdowns for the better part of 2 months. It is great for us to, let's say, meet a different audience, because there might be people that are just tuning in to hear what we have to say about TCU and Baylor players, and they may not care as much about the draft as much as what do we think about their players right now. So Scotty, and Lilia is here. So that is, my girlfriend likes seeing your cat, EJ.
Oh, you see?
there she is. So Lilia, how are you doing? But anyways, we have daily draft content, and here's what you're going to see. On Friday tomorrow, you're going to see Anthony's big board revealed at 6. We are podcasting sleepers at 8. Saturday morning, we're doing safeties. Sunday, we're doing an offensive line big board. Monday, we're previewing the Texas draft class. Tuesday, we're previewing the Florida draft class. Wednesday, we are doing tight ends. And then Thursday next week on this podcast, Devin Jackson will be joining EJ, and we're doing a mailbag. So send your questions in. Send them to EJ. Send them to me. We'll have a Twitter post. But if you have any draft questions for Devin, he's going to be coming on the podcast for 30 or 45 minutes, and we will take some of your questions in the chat, but we would prefer that the questions come ahead of time. So with that being said, we are going to wind the podcast down, but Ryan, were there other players that you watched that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, there's a handful, mostly for Baylor actually. But Jackie Marshall, defensive tackle, guy I really like. He's one of those guys. There's a metric that I try to look at when I'm looking for guys that I think are going to make good NFL defensive tackles. And it's a 10 plus pass rush run rate, 10 plus run stop rate. And he's 6'3", 290. I want to see a little bit more in the pass rush, but I really like him. Still getting into his film a little bit. And then I actually went through and looked at their incoming transfer portal class, and there are 4 guys coming in from their transfer portal that I love. The most exciting one to watch was his name's Cole Wilson, coming from Texas State. He's 5'9", 165, so he's tiny, but he is wildly electric in the return game. Just absolutely incredibly fun to watch in that. And he's super fast, a big yak guy, so I think that's going to be interesting. They have a pass rusher coming in, Matthew Fobbs-White from Tulane. He's 6'3", 230, not really big. Reminds me of David Bailey a little bit, maybe a little smaller, but he's super, super quick, speed rushing guy. So I'm excited to see if that translates over to Baylor. And then the wide receiver from Alabama, Kobe Prentice, who didn't get to play a ton at Alabama until the game was pretty much over most of the time. But he's another guy that has a very twitchy guy, limited snaps because the guys ahead of him, and he had some concussion problems last year. But he's a guy that I think could be really good. And then this guy, actually, no play time, haven't watched him at all, but I cannot be intrigued by a guy that's 6'3", 380. They've got a D tackle coming in from Texas A&M named Samu. Let's call it Tamuna Pepe. I think I got the name right. But 6'3", 380 D tackle coming in from Texas A&M. Don't know if he'll actually give us play time, but a guy of that size, I would assume is going to probably eat up some space in the run game. But yeah, those are all guys from Baylor. I didn't have as much excitement about the other guys from TCU, but lots of heck yeah, got the name right. Elite comment section with Scotty B down there. Thank you.
Yeah, Scotty, you're definitely you're really appreciated there in the chat. Definitely. EJ, anybody else for TCU or Baylor that caught your attention when you were watching?
All right, so I'm gonna go rapid fire here because I got a handful of guys. Devin Bobby, safety from Baylor. He's about 6 foot 200. What I put up a tweet about him. What I like about him is he's very aggressive in the run game. He's got good speed, so he's always shooting downhill. I put up a tweet about 4 different plays of him just blowing up the run game. They try to run a little end around, they try to run little screens, and he's shooting downhill. So he's got some speed, he's got some aggressiveness. He's a guy to watch. Their slot cornerback, number 15, Carl Williams IV. He is their about 6'1", 184, plays like a linebacker. He plays in the box. I mean, at 184, he plays in the box. He's running and hitting everything. So I think he's probably best as a safety at the next level, but he's very aggressive. He reminds you of Jalen Petrie and how they used him. But that's the way he plays. He's very aggressive, very short tackler. Caden Jenkins, cornerback, he's a guy to look out for. Jumping over to TCU, It was the right tackle, number 56, Ben Taylor-Whitfield. I like him. He's very, very twitchy. Very, very good footwork. He can stay at tackle if he wants to. He's got footwork to be a left tackle if he wants to. All his weight is in his lower half. I would like to see him get a little bit stronger in the upper body. That would help him sustain his blocks a little bit better. But yeah, he's a guy, he can play tackle or he can play guard, but he has a tremendous upside with his movement ability. And on the defensive side of TCU, it's three guys that's going to have a much bigger role going forward on the defensive line. Zach Chapman, redshirt sophomore. He's 6'5", 255. Defensive coach over at TCU, he admitted that they put him in pretty much a bad position because they had some needs at the defensive tackle, so they had to kick him inside. This guy is 255. He's playing a zero tech against centers. This guy is playing a 4-eye. He's a pass rusher by nature, but they had him playing a defensive tackle 4-eye 3 technique. Had him just sitting there, two gapping, holding the line of scrimmage. And the thing that impressed me about it was he did pretty well at that. That shows me he's got play strength. So I want to see, but now they're going to have him rush the passer a little bit more this coming season. The nose tackle, Markis Deal. He's a big guy, number 95. He's a big guy. I like him as a nose. They played him as a 3 tech, as a 4-eye, and tried to use him a little bit as a pass rusher. He's got some burst up the field, but he's got nothing in his bag as far as a pass rusher goes. He's got a bull rush, and that's about it. So I would rather see him as a nose tackle because can't nobody move him. So I'd rather put him in that type of role. Ansel Denbu. He's a transfer over from Washington State, 6'3", 291. Now, this guy has some pass rush in his bag. He's got that quick first step. He's not the big guy that's going to hold the point of attack or stuff to run, but he can get after the passer from a 3 technique. He's that guy that's really just going to shoot gaps and pretty much chase the quarterback. But I think he's going to have some pass rush opportunities at TCU. Yeah, that's about it.
Anthony, any players from Baylor or TCU on your board or that you've watched that we haven't mentioned on the podcast?
So I'll just say a couple quick things. Ben Taylor-Whitfield, I think is like our guy Sam Teets, I think has him like top 75 or something like that. You can go to Sam Teets' big board to verify that, but I know he's up there. So he likes him a lot as a tackle prospect. EJ mentioned Markis Deal. His brother Devin is also on the team. Sort of listed as an edge. He's 6'4", 250. But he took snaps. He takes a lot of snaps like in the box as a linebacker. He also took like 40 snaps in the slot as a cover guy. So he does quite a few different things for TCU. And kind of what we've talked about with other guys, like there's a few guys who can, I think TCU is very, they make guys do a lot of different things. They preach versatility, and that's an important part of their coaching. So, Devean Deal does a lot of different things. I want to see him more just focus on being an edge rusher and getting better in that area. But he did have 6 sacks this past season. So, we could see development there. I think he has good frame and good length. So someone, the Deal brothers are 2 guys that I'm watching for the TCU defense this year. Both I would say are, day 3 at best guys right now, but can certainly, have big years and elevate. Markis also, I think Ryan and I said it before we came on. Markis is one of those get off the bus guys. Like he certainly looks the part of a legit defensive tackle. So if nothing else, he's what, like 6'5", 325, I think it was something like that. He's big man. So that helps.
Yeah, and so when these episodes get planned, we look at the player list, and if there's 2 or 3 players ranked high, we can say, okay, we can do a Baylor show or a TCU show. And the fact that this one had 2 quarterbacks is kind of how this episode got born. Here were other players that other draft professors mentioned, but Anthony, Ryan, and EJ, when they were watching tape, these players apparently didn't pop out. But other players were watching are wide receiver Jordyn Dwyer from TCU, defensive lineman Adonis Friloux from Baylor, defensive lineman Jackie Marshall from Baylor, Devin Bobby, I think you mentioned him already.
Mm-hmm.
Safety Austin Jordan from TCU. I think somebody mentioned Caden Jenkins already, correct? And then, yeah. So wanted to make sure we dropped all those names. So for everybody watching, please go to YouTube, hit that subscribe. You'll be notified for daily draft content. We could not function without Anthony and EJ doing their 1/7 and showing up one day a week. So this channel functions because there are about 22 podcasters that choose to show up once a week, and that helps us create daily draft content. That means every single day you will get unique content that you haven't seen or heard anywhere else. So for EJ, Anthony, special guest Ryan, myself, and the 85 podcasters at the Draft Professor, thank you for watching, everybody, and enjoy your Thursday night.
Later, everybody.